or when we're following a client, I used to have a client who I used to follow who carried copious amounts of money on him all the time. I'll always say, no, you shouldn't do it, but no one listens to me. So, but he didn't see how there was a guy following us and we had to take evasive actions. He never saw that because they don't think we're moving in the bubble. It's all smooth. Trust me, the President of the United States thinks he's got a smooth ride every day. He does not understand the threats the Secret Service has to do. Maybe we're going to take him out door B. Now we have to take him out of door A. To him, he was just always walking out of door A. You see what I mean?
Yep.
So they don't see the warts and everything we have to deal with. They just see the end result. And they think everything's always fine. Well, to you it is. You know, I had a client. This client was worth a lot of money. And I remember one day he said, I'm going to go jogging. I don't need you guys today. And I'm like, okay. Now, of course, we weren't going to really leave him alone. He thought that, right? Because the first rule in this business is never leave a client alone unless you're properly relieved. I don't care if you waiting by a door for 12 hours and you have to piss in a flower pot. Start pissing in that flower pot because you cannot leave him or her.
Paid to do.
This is what you're paid to do. Now, in his mind, he jogged around the neighborhood freely, right? Of course, he thought that, but in reality, he didn't see us in undercover vehicles, just driving around the block, keeping track of them. 3 different cars. He didn't see that. He thought he was just jogging free. He thought we were still back at the house. No, we were there. He just didn't see it, right? Something happens, we can grab him and throw him in the car, right? Because you always want to move your client off the X, you know. So again, they're moving in the bubble, so they don't really see everything we have to do to take care of. They didn't know that I had the limo, his car stocked with his favorite magazines every morning, or that I made sure we check underneath with mirrors and other specialized equipment we had to make sure there was no GPS trackers attached to the vehicle. He didn't see that. All he knows is he gets in his car and there's his coffee right there. That's all they know. And then they have the nerve to say, well, nothing seems to happen when you're
We're going to fire you.
Right. And then after bad stuff starts happening, after they let you go, then they want you back. Then you raise the price.
Exactly.
Right. Then you raise the price. But yeah.
Let's start this. Anything you don't ever want to say, just tell me. We'll edit it out.
Okay.
I'm sitting here tonight with Anthony Burnside.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Old acquaintance. Read anything interesting lately? Watch anything interesting lately?
Oh, man, I read all the time. And a lot of political stuff I read. And then... you know, one of my big loves in college was psychology and philosophy. So I'm always reading about the Stoics, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius.
They're tracking
Epictetics.
Again, you know?
Yeah, Epictetics. I think that's his Epictetics.
Yes.
Anyway, that guy.
Yeah, something.
So I'm always reading about that. Always reading about that. And I'm always reading or learning or even teaching or instructing when it comes to EP, security operations, that kind of thing. I'm kind of good in that area. So
I've heard rumors.
You've heard rumors too. See, I've heard those same rumors. So I'm always doing something like that, or watching really cool stuff on YouTube. And if I'm in a hotel room, that's what I'm usually doing.
So do you watch like Disney movies or do you watch business-like movies? It's, Jack Reacher and...
I like Jack Reacher. You know, it's funny. I have Disney Plus, but I got it just so I can watch Hamilton all the time. Because I love that play. I didn't know there was other stuff on there.
I fought it for years, and my friend Katie was like, she caught me one day, and she's like, you're in town, I'm in town, we're watching this damn play.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. It was actually wonderful. The guy who played George.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible.
All right, so I'm all over your getting ready for this. I'm scrolling around your Facebook and social media stuff, and on there it describes you as an elite security expert.
Right.
Okay. Tell us all what the hell that means.
Because that's how I've been described, and that's how people in our industry is described. You watch sports, you look at people who Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Jalen Hurts, Jason Kelce. I'm not going to bring up Dak's name. I'm not a big Dallas Cowboys fan. But, yeah, we don't mention Dallas. Or someone like Josh Allen or Joe Burrow. They're referred to as an elite quarterback or an elite tight end because they play at such a high level. And the same thing works in our industry. We play at a high level, so we play at an elite level for some of the biggest or most elite people on the planet. Maybe some people you probably never even heard of. But yeah, that's an elite level. We have elite skills, and we deploy those skills for money. We hire guns, pretty much, but we deploy those skills to the highest bidder, be they a business, be they a politician, be they celeb, or any other kind of VIP.
It's not just muscles and quick
No.
reflexes. You're using all kinds of other skills.
Yes. Our brains.
I even saw somewhere you mentioned that you did some like video analysis or review or something like that.
Yeah, I find, it's funny. I found myself, like, people call and ask, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I love sports, football, basketball. When the Royals are doing good, I like baseball. I love Salvi.
Every 20 years or so.
Every 20 years, yeah. When the comic Cahotek comes across the planet. So, but what I found interesting is just like a prize fighter, they watch film, they watch tape. Okay, you should have punched here, or you should have punched there, you should have did this. Or maybe when you come out of the pocket, you go this way, look, see, they're lining up, there's a blitz. Well, EP works sort of the same kind of way. We have for certain formations. We have protocols, we have movements, techniques that we utilize. And so people are always sending me tapes, what do you think of this, what do you think of that? And I'm like, okay, let's see. Okay. See where he's positioned? Okay, he would probably be better if he had positioned himself this way. And then this wouldn't have happened, or maybe they should have used a box formation or diamond formation, or maybe certain protocols should have been implemented when they moved here versus here, and I just make points. And that's pretty much it.
But it's the top off the top of your head, right? I mean,
right, because I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, I mean, you're not scrolling plays with X's and O's.
Right.
I mean, you're doing that at home. In the situation, it's gut reaction and then past experience and skill.
What's interesting is most of the people who work in this business, they're not trained. You're going to find very few people who are trained in this business.
Well, how the hell do they get in it then?
Well, because they know someone.
Okay.
And and actually that's the best way to do it when you know someone. But the important part is to have the trust and know somewhat of what you're supposed to do. Have some skill. And most of the time they're either it's like the big tall guy, I won't say his name, that punched a woman out for a rapper and punched this other guy out. Turned out that guy he's punched out is a lawyer, and someone's about to get sued.
Oops.
So. The best weapon, just because I tell people all the time, because I get resumes, this guy, I'm a bodybuilder, he's lifting. And I'm like, that's great, but you don't protect people with your muscles. Yep. We protect people with our brains. If you look at the Secret Service, a lot of them aren't big guys, but they're some of the best protective operatives in the world. And so are DSS, diplomatic security. They're
groups
really
with across almost any discipline is
right.
It really is a mind game at an elite level.
At an elite
almost
level.
Anything.
We're chess players.
Yep.
And that's what it is. We're professional problem solvers. There was a rapper who was in Dubai with his so-called bodyguard. And let me first say this, the nomenclature, the terms. We're EP operators. or a security specialist or a close protection officer, CPOs. That's who we are. That's the actual technical term to describe what we do. It's just that most people outside of our bubble are not familiar with those terms. So if I say I'm an executive protection specialist, I'm a CPO, what's that? What's that? Or is that like a bodyguard? They know the word bodyguard. But the word bodyguard to us means a big gym meathead, has no training, pushes people around like a particular rapper's bodyguard, who slaps a guy in Dubai to snap him out of it. Really, so you commit assault? Did you not bother boning up on the local laws and customs of where you're traveling? Yep. You know, an operative would have done that. They're just on the plane, hang out. Oh, a guy's freaking out. Let me slap him. Yeah, and he's wondering why he's in jail. Maybe you shouldn't have assaulted him. How about just removing your charge out of the way and walking the opposite way? How about that? That seems to work.
So much of our culture is we absorb our impressions of what it should be by watching Whitney Houston in The Bodyguard or something, and it's not. That's a nice romance. It's like anything else. These are nice stories, but the reality is a very different reality.
Yeah, it's funny. I get asked about that movie a lot.
So you like it or not?
I like it for entertainment, and
it's got Costner in it.
And yeah, we all love Costner. But there's some things in that movie that are actually accurate, and there's some things that are inaccurate. And one of those is when the movie starts, he's getting in a shootout with a client. That's not something you do.
Yeah.
You don't do that.
You generally just don't get in shootouts.
Period. Exactly. But our motto is that if our client sees danger, that means I failed. So when you have to pull your gun or clear leather, as we say, that means everything else has went bad. And this is the only last resort. The problem with that is that the client can get shot, and dead clients don't pay. So
that's like a T-shirt.
That should be a T-shirt. So yeah, dead clients don't pay. So the key is your client should never see danger, and try not to sleep with your clients. Although this does happen, I don't think it's a good idea.
An opening for
That's
intimacy that.
It's like a doctor and patient.
Yeah, it's hard.
Lawyer
it's hard.
and client.
There's a reason we have protocols and stuff, but humans are humans.
Humans are humans, right?
But that brought up a question. Are you doing, close protection? Is it lethal force? Do you carry the taser? Do you get the little stick that extends? Do you?
Sometimes depends on the detail. We all have a go bag.
Yeah.
And whatever their assignment is, because the security is always customized around each client. Each client is different. They have different needs. So our bag, it's going to contain different kind of things or weapons or tools, as I like to say, for the assignment.
Which you're hoping to never use.
Which we're hoping to never use. Yeah, a firearm to me, I'm a gun guy.
Me too.
Yeah, I don't have a gun fetish. But I understand it's a tool like a stethoscope is to someone in the medical community or a scalpel is to a surgeon. It's a tool. And the surgeon has many tools. Well, as a specialist, we have many tools. Sometimes it's my computer. Sometimes it's my camera. Sometimes it's my counter surveillance equipment when we're out doing sneaking and peeking, or as I like to call it, super secret ninja type shit,
Ninja type shit.
Yeah. So, and sometimes it's a firearm, but that's just a tool. That's not always our go-to. We choreograph everything so well and we plan everything so well, the routes and the advance, that, we reduce the possibility of something happen to near zero.
Yeah. What's the old, is it, I can't even think of it, it's the old karate axiom is that, the greatest defense is to never fight.
Right. Bruce Lee said that. And, when I was a kid, I read the Tao Jeet Kune Do, JKD, and that gave me that was the start, or my nascent interest in philosophy. And because Bruce was big into philosophy. And so it's because of him I got to study the Stoics and Socrates and the classics. So, but he's right. The art of fighting without fighting. because the best weapon we have is our brain and our mouth. And when you're in police work, if you're in law enforcement, we call it verbal judo, or interpersonal communication skills. It's how you talk to someone. If you're in a bar and there's someone angry, you have a lot of insecure people out there. They want to fight. They want to look good in front of their girlfriends or boyfriends. And some people just have a lot of misplaced aggression.
Yep.
And I remember, this was some years ago. And you don't, I'm not a drinker, so you don't really catch me out in the bar, but I do like the bar atmosphere because I like to go and people watch. And I remember I was sitting at the bar, I was talking to the bartender, and there was this guy, he was just looking for trouble. And when you meet people like that, you just pretty much ignore them. So, but he had sat next to me, we started talking, and I'm like, okay, let me de-escalate this before anything starts. But then he was making threats at me. And I don't get intimidated like that. I was like, okay, this guy obviously has problems. I said, why don't you sit here, let me buy you a drink. Tell me your problems. You disarm them.
Yep.
That's how you do it. You don't say, because this would just get you this. And if you were to say something like, you're stupid and idiotic, okay, now he feels like he has to protect himself and has to defend himself, so he has to say something back. So basically hurling invectives at each other, and that's not conducive. That's just going to be trouble.
And the blood rises.
Exactly.
And all that stuff.
And I was telling Jonathan Katz, I did an interview, I think it was Channel 4, maybe Channel 9. And this went back to Devontae, the Raider player who pushed that guy. And I said, well, here's the problem. The angrier you get, right, the lower your IQ drops. It's the whole prefrontal cortex dynamic at play, right? So once the prefrontal cortex gets compromised, the IQ drops about 10 points. And all of a sudden, the rational part of your brain has been arrested. Now you're going to make dumb decisions. You're going to do stupid stuff. This is why I tell people, don't make decisions angry. Then, as the anger subsides, your IQ goes back up, and you become smarter again. So I tell people, never make a decision angry, and never make a decision when you're too happy, because you're still dealing with emotion.
Yeah.
This is why I tell people, when you get married, well, don't get married, because I don't think emotions should play part into a contract, because you're signing a contract and you're feeling emotional, right? You're feeling very emotional about it. You're feeling all these great things about him or her. Let me go sign away half my stuff and let me go ahead and sign away. Next thing you know, reality sets in after a while. You're like, man, I can't believe I did that. Never sign a contract feeling emotional. Just neutral. Just be neutral. You ever watch Billions?
Oh, yeah.
I love Billions. And Bobby Axelrod's character, Damian Lewis, said, you know what makes a great trader? Is when you make a trade and you feel good about it. That makes a good trader. He goes, you know what would make a great trader? Is when you make a great trade, make millions and millions, and you feel nothing. That's how you're supposed to be. It's just a job. Feel nothing. Go neutral. Go numb. Think about it first.
Yeah, clarity of thought.
Clarity of thought. Do not extract any passion from it. Do not extract any anger. No emotion. Just move through. It's like when I train teams, when we train assault. We move through the target neutral. We don't extract pleasure. We don't extract pain. We just move through it neutrally. That's how you do it. That's how I think contracts should be. Just neutral. Because you're too happy, part of your brain is arrested because you're not really thinking rationally. I mean, come on, we've all been in love. We find ourselves doing things that we normally wouldn't have done. Watching certain movies.
Never.
Of course. Well, of course, not you, but others. So, yeah, we've watched movies. I sat through The Notebook.
Probably more than once.
For a woman I was going out. Yeah, twice. I got up early to see when Prince William got married because that's what she wanted to do. I normally wouldn't have cared about that.
It's a good thing to do in the moment.
Yeah, right. I was rather just sleep, watch TV later. But we do things, and so never make decisions too angry when you're angry or when you're way too happy.
You
Just
know,
neutral.
just the other day,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, President Biden was at some political event,
Sure.
and somebody rammed one of the
Yes,
Secret
I heard
Service
about that.
cars.
I heard about that.
And I mean, the profession you've chosen in a certain way. I mean, this is much more institutional, but in a certain way, it's an old profession, from the Praetorian Guard to the Secret Service to Wagner to all of these things. I mean, how do you picture what you do in the whole of service? Because I mean, you're not serving you. If it was your choice, you get the hell out of there. But you now have a job.
Right.
How do you frame this serving somebody else's security needs?
And that just reminded me of a story too. First of all, I want to admire your erudition because you brought up the Praetorian Guard, which used to be my email for my business.
That was your
Praetorian
email?
Guard, yeah. Because the Praetorian Guard, they guard the Roman Senate, and they were kingmakers, and they killed senators too.
They killed a couple of them.
Yeah, killed a few.
Caesar.
So yeah, you had the Praetorian Guard and also the Assyrians. There was a guard. They had so-called bodyguards to guard them. But I love when you say Praetorian.
Were the assassins guards, or were they something else?
Who?
Do you remember the assassins? They were an actual clique of people. I don't know.
Well, the assassins were,
Yeah,
but
the
the Praetorian was known.
That was totally different. I'm just trying to
Right.
think, were there assassins in the same class, or were they just mercenary killers? I don't.
Probably a little bit of both. I mean, there's always been assassins, which is why they needed protectors.
Ask Putin.
Ask Putin, yeah, yeah. There's always been, when you've been a king or emperor, there's always been your guards, your protectors of sorts, which I think is always a good thing. I think that's a smart thing. But going to, that's happened before, where they found cars on motorcade routes and someone crashed into. I mean, this is the first time I heard of someone crashed into a presidential motorcade, which is so stupid. Someone did that to Obama's motorcade when he was president-elect, and I think he was going to get a haircut. And when you're president-elect, your motorcade is not a tighter motorcade, or it's a more truncated form. It's not like the president's motorcade. With the motorcade, they shut down everything, when you're running your routes. Mailboxes are pulled off the street, manhole covers are welded shut, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, for the president-elect, it's a little looser. It's a little looser formation, but it's just as deadly if you try to penetrate that. And someone tried to cut in front. Well, they were cut off immediately by other Secret Service cars and the SUV. And at the top, as the top opened up, there was an agent with a minigun that comes out on hydraulics and pointed right at that car. They dropped a brick. Because they almost got themselves killed. Same thing with what happened to Biden. You don't ever want to cause an issue in a presidential motorcade. You will die. Yep. And the Secret Service are well trained. Before they pull that trigger, they're going to determine if you're a threat or not.
I mean, there's psychological evaluations.
Oh, yeah.
To do this stuff, and coolness tests and trainings.
Oh, exactly.
All of that stuff.
Exactly.
So trying to.
And
I mean, nobody takes this lightly. I don't think.
Not at all.
So.
No, this is a serious business. What's interesting is the ERT team, the people we see in black tactical uniforms, BDUs. They're considered special forces.
Yeah.
In the Secret Service, and they are good. They are very good.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, you don't want to tangle with these guys.
Just a day or so ago,
sure.
Rudy Giuliani, who used to be called America's mayor, had an adjudication for about $140 million, which is
I heard about that.
Change.
No,
and it had a lot to do with some freedom of speech issues where he was able, you get to say stuff, but a couple people's lives were ruined. And I mean, one of them quoted is that I wish I could just use my name again because the level of people, and again, it's the immediacy of the mediums and all
Sure.
of this stuff, and it's really easy to call names from somebody you don't know from a million miles away. But are you seeing, or do you think that we're seeing a rise in at least the public threat of violence, even down into normal people? I mean, we have teachers and election poll workers and stuff which are quitting and won't go to work because just to show up, you're getting a phalanx of calls to your house, and we know where your kids are, and the doxing stuff, and
Right, and I think that's terrible. I think, if I'm correct, I think Giuliani went beyond and started to slander and malign someone's name and reputation. You can't do that. I believe in freedom of speech, but even freedom of speech has restrictions. I can't say terrible things about you that are not true.
well,
Right.
if I'm not a public figure,
If you're not a public figure, exactly right. So I can't say Will's this or that, and that's
though many people have queued up to try.
exactly right. But the point is that you can't malign someone, and believe me, you got to have proof, and you can't have theories, and you can't have a hunch. You got to have proof that is stand up in a court of law, and it appears that he did not have that, which is why I think he ended up losing that case. He can't malign people, especially if they disagree with these election workers. To me, they're sacred. I love them all. Yep. And you just can't make up something like that about someone.
They pay you $50 a day, which is about a pay cut for most people.
Exactly. No way I do it. It's not going to happen.
Me either.
It's not going to happen. But yeah, you can't. You can't do that. Even in our business, I make a post every now and then about issues that go on, especially in my industry. There's a so-called protector now who's going around saying certain things about a certain performer. Whether they're true or not, I don't know. But I do know that in this business, if you have a client that you think is breaking the law or you witness a law being broken, your job is to remove yourself from that detail, talk to a supervisor, talk to the company you're working for. If you're not working for our company, you're working directly with that person, you tell them you're going to resign. And then you report it to the police. You don't go to the media.
Yeah.
You don't do that.
Everything's so in the public realm as opposed to being adjudicated or at least questioned and looked at privately, which is, again, it's, I guess, the zeitgeist of our age,
Right. Yeah, I just, I don't know. I'm from the old school. I'm from the school of I mind my own damn business, and I don't get in anyone else's business, and I don't tell anyone else's business. We need to get back to that.
You do. And I mean, not trying to be cloyingly stupid, but just a little bit of common decency amongst most of us
Of course.
would go a long way to mitigating a chunk of the issues. But I mean, you watch, I have a corner right out here, and it's like cars will come down the wrong way street and they get mad at somebody trying to turn into it going the right way. And it's like, I don't know, the whole culture, again, has a component of being on edge that I don't remember when we were younger.
Right.
But maybe I was just younger and didn't know how to look at anything. I don't know.
Right. It's weird. I think that, looking for you. I'm thinking that, remember when we didn't know everyone else's business?
Yeah. Yes.
I go on social media and people, I'm like, my God, I would never admit that.
Yep.
I'm so private. I would never admit some of the certain things that, people, there was this woman that talked about a procedure she received. And I'm like, I could never talk about that.
What's one thing to talk about amongst your friends or
right,
family,
that's one thing, but
or
to
your,
put it on social media,
spiritual whatever. Maybe, so I'm just going to plunk this out.
Man,
the general consumption and commentary.
Yeah, I can't do it. I'm private about my relationships. Because you don't want everyone in your business, and some people will work against you. All of these people. I can't say all, but I've had many discussions with a particular person about, people play their relationships out on Facebook. And if it's not on Facebook, it's not official. It's like, really, what did we have way before the advent of social media? So the relationship is less valid because no one knows about it?
I'm kind of an inverse. If it's on Facebook, it ain't real. I mean,
You see, that's what I
stuff
think.
that's real is between me and somebody, and we talk.
I think it's a lot of peacocking is what I think it is. And I think real relationships are off social media. You can have beautiful relationships off social media. Yeah, if you want to post here and there, but there was a woman that I was kind of going out with, this is years ago, and she wanted to post everything we did. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding. No. Yeah. I'm not cut from that cloth.
This is you and me, man. This
is us hanging. No one needs to know. I'm just not that guy. I don't care if people think I'm the most boring person ever, that all I do is sit at home and twiddle my thumbs, which is what I do. But
as far as we know.
But I just don't care. I've just never cared what anyone thought about. It's bad enough. Again, maybe it's just from a different generation, but I don't care what people think. Never have, never would, never will. I don't care what they feel about me, what they say about me. I just do me. I don't want to do what everyone else is doing. Yeah. Because it's like there's psychological condition. Is this the water?
That's the water. We can get you some more water if we need to.
This is really good water.
Lime filtered, I hear.
Get water. Yeah, Prospero's. I just think that everyone seems like they have to get in your business. Like there's certain people right now that are in the media, and I don't know if it's through any fault of their own or nosy media, but I don't need to know the going-ons of everyone's relationships, every little thing that happened. I don't want to know. I don't care to know. It's none of my business. I don't want to look up in the paper and read. I think one of the Jenners just broke up with, oh gosh, who that guy? See, I don't even know the guy.
You're like me.
Yeah. Just broke up, and I'm like, okay, and so? And this affects me how? I don't care who's dating who. It's none of my business.
Okay, so let me flip it on you a little bit. Mm-hmm. Do the people that you care close to, how much do they worry about what you do? And does it have an impact on you choosing clients or anything?
Elucidate on that a little more.
Do you got a lover that's like, I don't want you to take this one. This one may be heavier than you want, or heavier than I want for you.
That's a very good point. And here's my answer to that.
Fuck off. I'm sorry.
Your response was so eloquent and refined. My thing has always been, I run my business and no one has anything to say about my business but me. Pure and simple.
Well, if you love me, you love me.
Right. Now, that being said, I understand how that at the surface can be harsh and single-minded. I get that. But see, I'm not married. And I figure the only person that will have the right to even say something like that is if it's a woman I'm married to, and I'll probably say ignore her, but no, if it's a woman I'm married to or someone
Take an advisement,
right. So if it was a woman I was married to or someone I was seeing very, very seriously, then because maybe they see something I don't see. Mm-hmm. But other than that, man, gosh, no one tells me what to do. I do what I want to do when I want to do it. But in any job I undertake, I think it out very clearly and carefully. That's why I've been in the business for so long. I've been on some dangerous assignments.
We're going to get to that in a minute.
Oh, okay. And so, and then I've been on some really fun stuff that people will see on TV or something like that. So, but it depends. And there's nothing wrong with talking with your significant other. I don't want people to think I'm a total jerk. My business is my business. I run my business, and I'm always the final say. I'm the king, and that's just how this is going to go.
That makes an amazing amount of sense.
Thank you.
We've talked a little bit about gear and some training stuff. Mm-hmm. do you have a physical routine that keeps you kind of on top? I mean, you've mentioned the philosophers. Do you meditate? Do you go to the gym, 3 hours a day? Do you?
I meditate almost every morning, and no matter where I am in the world, I walk 6 to 7 miles a day. And just recently in Vegas, I was doing like 23,000 steps a day. So I was up to about, I guess, 10, 12, 15 miles a day.
The damn gizmos won't let you forget it either.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, I lift weights. I'm not like a gym rat.
Yeah.
I lift weights to stay fit, but I don't want to be so buff where I can't scratch my own butt. I work out these muscles here more than I do anything else because this is what counts. Yeah, you want to stay fit. You want to stay strong. There's nothing wrong with that. I like to do boxing. I studied Krav Maga for about 3 or 4 years. So, I stay in great shape. But it's really here that counts. It's my mental.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It's a
I've gotten older. I find that limberness is a bigger concern than I ever thought it would be.
You found what?
Being limber.
Oh, yes,
remaining limber, keeping a core tight, but being able to just move. And, I got books. I carry them up and down 3 flights of stairs, and a book weighs 1.5 pounds. And if you're carrying 10 books, I do that 30 times a day. And
it's funny. As we get older, someone said, when you get older, everything hurts. And I was like, what does that mean? Now I know what that means.
I know what that means.
It's like, too. Man, it's like everything hurts. And I'm like, wow. Because I pretty much stay in great shape. I run, which I hate doing.
Well, dude, you look good.
Thank
you.
You
in, you're big, you're a strong man.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's, and, sometimes I pay for it at the end of the day. I'm in a bag on.
We're always going to pay for it.
I can't move. Mike Tyson, I was watching this video of, Mike Tyson's like 56, 55. And he still got it. This guy's fast and he's deadly. He was punching this guy with the focus. But he had these. You ever see? You can see it on YouTube when he's hitting the guy. Boom, boom with the boom, boom, boom. He's doing that, and he's doing it really quickly, and he's throwing kidney shots in. It's incredible. I'm like, this guy hits hard. Who wants to fight this guy? And then he said right after that, he was like super sore and laying in the.
You pay for it. We can still do it. We just
still pay for it. Yeah.
Right. So what did you think? It's funny. I wasn't even going to talk about this, but I remember the fight between McGregor, the Irish.
And Floyd Mayweather
fighter, and then Mayweather, and it's like everybody's like going, well, "What do you think about this?" It's like, well, I like the crazy old Irishman. I'm a crazy old Irishman, you know. But you're moving into ballet that has very specific and protocoled movements, and you go, Mayweather is an animal, and I don't mean that. I mean that in the most positive way.
Of course, I can say. You're an animal in the most beautiful, innocuous way possible.
He is a master of the discipline.
Of course.
It's like he's going to eat his lunch.
Oh, yeah.
He's just going to eat his lunch.
Yeah. Floyd is beautiful. And I tell people, man, it's technique. It's always technique. He's beautiful when he moves. And I tell people, there's no point in watching tape on Floyd because he fights each opponent differently. Right? So you're not going to look at something, okay, he's going to try that. He fought Maidana differently. He fought Canola Alvarez. Is it? I can't think. Alvarez.
Yeah.
But he fought him differently.
Yep.
Differently.
He's a pro.
He's a
an
pro.
Elite.
Yeah, he's an elite fighter. Exactly. You can't beat this guy. This guy has studied. One of the ways about being good, know more about what your craft is more than anybody else in the room. So when I was in college, I always studied ahead a few chapters than everyone else. Even in EP, I'm always studying more than anyone else. Yep. I'm reading about the history, everything. I'm talking to people who came before me. I'll talk to people who are my colleagues now. Matter of fact, one of my friends worked for Conor McGregor. And, I sit and I talk to him and pick his mind. I want to be the most knowledgeable person in the room when it comes to EP. And there's a lot I still don't know. And I'm always, I was telling Johnny Dare that one day, there's a lot I still don't know. But I'm always wanting to learn.
See, that
Always
hunger is
want
what
to learn.
keeps us alive.
And that's
young.
what it's about. You got to be hungry.
Yep.
And I'm also philosophical because I love philosophy so much. And when people poo-poo on philosophy, they really don't understand it, right? And I also used to tutor philosophy students because when I was in college, I mean, let's face it, philosophy does sound and look boring. You know, these stuffed shirt intellectuals and
Gotta get a good pipe.
you're in a pipe and sitting there, basically. I think, therefore I am, Kajita ergo thumb, you know. So what I did, I figured, how do we learn? What is the algorithm for learning? Performance, feedback, revision, right? That's how we learn anything.
Touché.
Performance, feedback, revision. And I also want to add this. It's how we relate to the material, right? I hate math.
I can't do it. I don't hate it, but I can't do it.
I can't do it. I hate it. Now, I know addition, subtraction, division. I know that, right? That's easy. But it's the trig, it's the algebra. I'm like, I don't need that in my checkbook, right? I couldn't do that to save my life. You can put an algebraic equation in front of me. I just know the square root of 5 and only know that because I've heard people say it.
That's you and me. We're in the world of applied mathematics.
Right.
We're little people. I want my people who are airplane engineers to know some fucking
Exactly.
shit about math.
Exactly. They should know that. Neil deGrasse Tyson, who I love.
Yes.
He's super smart. He knows all the math he's supposed to know. Don't trust me to get you to the moon. You're going to fail miserably if you leave it up to me because I failed all that stuff. My mind is not geared towards that.
I was telling my son the other day that the best math course I ever had was my dad used to make me play darts, and we'd play cricket. And it was learning to subtract backwards, sometimes times 2 and sometimes times 3. That's what the game required. I can count change all day long.
All day long.
Upstairs. That's the extent of my applied mathematics.
Exactly. All I know, I can show you some division, multiplication, subtraction, addition. That's it. That's all I'm good for. But with philosophy and psych or history, because I love history, I'm a great student of history, and all the sciences except math, I excelled at that. And in philosophy, again, it's all how you relate to the material. And so all of my students got A+ that I tutored, right? And I'm proud of that because it's all how you relate to the material. Same thing with an executive protection, you know. And someone said, well, what's that like? I said, well, you ever fly in a plane and you're looking at the wings and you see those panels go up and down, just here periodically they move, right, on the wings. And I said, you don't really notice it until you look out the window. And in conjunction with that, the pilots are in the cockpit making adjustments, windage. Okay, here we're going to put over here. All of these things work in tandem or in concert with each other to give you a smooth flight. Well, in executive protection, it's the same thing. We're moving you in the bubble. A lot of these things you won't see. You know, some protectors get fired sometimes, right, for the dumbest reasons, right? Here's why you get fired: when you do your job extremely well, right? When you do your job extremely well. And they'll sit there and tell you, man, I mean, gosh, we like you, but nothing ever seems to happen when you're around.
No need for you.
Right. And they start looking at the money they're paying. It's like, nothing ever seems to happen when you're here, when you're around, right? But that's the key. Yep. See, they didn't see the car that was following us, so we just took an alternate route that was already planned. Or when we're following a client, I used to have a client who I used to follow who carried copious amounts of money on him all the time. I'll always say, no, you shouldn't do it, but no one listens to me. So, but he didn't see how there was a guy following us, and we had to take evasive actions. He never saw that. Because they don't think we're moving in the bubble. It's all smooth. Trust me, the President of the United States thinks he's got a smooth ride every day. He does not understand the threats the Secret Service has to do. Maybe we're going to take him out door B. Now we have to take him out of door A. To him, he was just always walking out of door A. You see what I mean?
Yep.
So they don't see the warts and everything we have to deal with. They just see the end result. And they think everything's always fine. Well, to you it is. You know, I had a client. This client was worth a lot of money, and I remember one day he said, "I'm gonna go jogging. I don't need you guys today." And I'm like, "Okay." Now, of course,
Yeah.
we weren't going to really leave him alone. He thought that,
Yep.
right? Because the first rule in this business is never leave a client alone unless you're properly relieved. I don't care if you walk waiting by a door for 12 hours and you have to piss in a flower pot. Start pissing in that flower pot because you cannot leave him or her.
Paid to do.
This is what you're paid to do. Now, in his mind, he jogged around the neighborhood freely, right? Of course, he thought that, but in reality, he didn't see us in undercover vehicles, just driving around the block, keeping track of them. 3 different cars. He didn't see that. He thought he was just jogging free. He thought we were still back at the house. No, we were there. He just didn't see it, right? Something happens, we can grab him and throw him in the car, right? Because you always want to move your client off the X, you know. So again, they're moving in the bubble, so they don't really see everything we have to do to take care of. They didn't know that I had the limo, his car stocked with his favorite magazines every morning, or that I made sure we check underneath with mirrors and other specialized equipment we have to make sure there was no GPS trackers attached to the vehicle. They didn't see that. All he knows is he gets in his car and there's his coffee right there. That's all they know. And then they have the nerve to say, well, nothing seems to happen when you're
We're going to fire you.
Right. And then after bad stuff starts happening, after they let you go, then they want you back. Then you raise the price.
Exactly.
Right. Then you raise the price. But yeah.
Well, and I understand that a lot of what you do is non-disclosure type work.
Right. Definitely.
But anything in here that you could describe for the prurient of us, one of the more threatening, exciting, thrilling, dangerous episodes. And again, we can pull any names out of it, and it could be Dolly Parton. I don't care.
I remember there's a lot, but see, with this particular person, no one knew we were there, so I got to think of something else. Let's see. Here's one. It was I was handling security for a huge streaming company, and one of the VIPs, A-list actor, decided to run into an unvetted crowd to take our autographs. Now, to him, this goes to show you perspective. You remember what was that movie with Robin Williams when he had them all stand on the desks? Remember that when he said, "Get a different perspective"?
Yeah. Is that Dead Poets Society?
Dead Poets Society.
There we go.
Love that movie because he's right. Get a different perspective. Just because I think it doesn't necessarily mean I'm right. And as the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, I think it was, Epictetus and Seneca, they used to say, we live life through our brain and how we see things through our brain, right? Okay. To that actor, he just walked out into an unvetted crowd. To me, it was the most alarming thing ever. Why? Because people have guns and knives in unvetted crowds. Perfect example, I don't know, Governor George Wallace. When we have what we call a rope line maneuver, right? So his team told George Wallace, yeah, don't go down there because bad things can happen. We're going to go here. Well, George Wallace, being the segregationist and politician he is, he said, no, I'm going to go over there and press the flesh, which is exactly what he did, right? But guess who was...
wheelchair, if I remember correctly.
Right, because Arthur Bremer was sitting there right near the rope. I mean, Arthur Bremer was probably as close as you are to me right now to George Wallace in relation. He had the George Wallace pin on. He had a hat like this on, hooping and hollering, I love you, George. I love you, George. All the way up to where he pulled a handgun and fired point blank several times, hit him in the abdomen. Loved him right up until that point, right? Mm-hmm. Crowds are safe until they're not. Yeah. So when people have been stabbed, you saw, gosh, I got to see in the video. I was training the team of a congressman, and first thing I do when I train a team or agents, I make you watch all these horrific videos of people being killed and stabbed and murdered, right? And I'm telling you, don't let this happen. Because, see, the bad guy has to be right only one time. We have to be right every time.
Yep.
And if we have a bad day, we change the world, right? So we don't have bad days. We don't have the luxury of having a bad day. So Bolsonaro was on his security, his shoulders, right? In a crowd of people. Crowds are bad. Remember, crowds are always bad. But hey, these people love me, right? You know, we can convince ourselves. It's like the Stoics said. It's in our head. So we convince ourselves everyone loves us, right? We always do that, right? And that's part of the narcissism of human beings. Not necessarily the malignant level. You just think everybody likes you until you find out they don't, right? Okay. Well, evidently someone didn't like him because they jabbed him in the stomach with a knife, twisted, he almost died. So you see him and it happened so quick. If you blinked, you would have missed it. And he's starting to slump down in a crowd. So that's how I see crowds. Crowds alarm me and concern me when I'm out working because you never know. It hasn't been vetted, right? So he runs right out to the crowd. That's what I'm thinking. Okay.
You chase him?
I had to. But because of who he is, I just couldn't grab and yank him.
Yeah.
So I had to go in. I think I pushed old ladies over. I went over there, got up to him. I hugged him. Hey, we got to go this way, sir. And then I nicely, gently did it. But you want to get him out of the kill zone. You always want to move a client out of the kill zone. If you saw what happened with Reagan when John Hinckley Jr. took some shots at him. Lenin, the same thing. I talk about Lenin all the time. And 64% of attacks happen in or around or inside vehicles, and they're successful 77% of the time. This is why. Think about Reagan was shot going to his vehicle. The Indian prime minister, a friend of Hillary's, years ago, that was shot in her car. I can't think of her name. She was murdered.
You're challenging our global literacy here all of a sudden.
What it is? Yes, that's exactly what it is. But she was from a political dynastic family from over there.
Bhutto? Was it Bhutto?
No,
it was Pakistan.
It was Pakistan. Yeah, this is a female. They were the Kennedys over there. I think it was India, Pakistan. So you look at Rabin, Yitzhak Rabin in Israel. He was killed walking to his car. So this happens all the time. This is why. If you look what happened November 26th, I wrote a Kennedy analysis. I don't know if you've ever.
I haven't. That'd be interesting.
Did you?
To read.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you. I have to make a correction. I was talking to Robert Groden. He was in JFK.
He published his last book.
Really?
Yeah.
So you know Larry Sells?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Groden. I talked to him and his lovely wife. He was in town. I was there to meet RFK Jr. And so,
I just saw that poster. You were just there.
I was just there. And so Robin Groden was there. And a friend of mine who's a famous actor, we talk about the Kennedy assassination all the time. That's all we talk about. People think we talk about his movies. No, we talk about the Kennedy assassination. This is what we talk about all the time. We're big nerds.
And for the audience, Groden's the man who released the Zapruder film as a teenager. And he released it on Dick Gregory's show.
With Geraldo Rivera.
Yep.
That's right.
And it caused a congressional hearing that actually determined that the assassination was a conspiracy, but they stopped it after two people. Congress found that there was more than one person was involved, but the man who ran the investigation stopped it.
Right. Oh, of course.
Before it could go any further.
Oh, of course.
But Groden sits every day down in Dealey Plaza going, the 6th floor museum is full of bullshit.
I was, I was just down in Dallas in February, March. And this time, and this is where I got the analysis from, and Groden corrected me on one thing, which I have to go back and change. But I walked around Dealey Plaza. On the other side where the homeless people stay, I went over there. I went underneath the triple overpass. I went on top of the triple overpass. I went over by where Lee Bowers and that railroad tower. I've been on the 6th floor before. And I closed my eyes and listened. And the acoustics are strange in that area. But one of the first things you notice about Dealey Plaza is how small it is. It's really small. And out of all the questions and investigations I've done into the Kennedy assassination, because people have to remember, all the new protection techniques of the Secret Service was born out of that day.
Yep.
No matter
That's a
what.
great point.
Yeah. So the president travels in a covered car now. Manhole covers must be sealed, right? They remove mailboxes. They always see if any police uniforms have been stolen, right? Makes you wonder. Police uniforms, police behind the stockade fence. Just saying. Just throwing that out there.
We're not saying it's true.
We're not saying it's true, although I did see a picture of a cop behind the stockade fence. Groden has these great videos, and I've seen this at the full Zapruder film, which he has, the full Zapruder film, the not edited version. So real quick in my analysis, I wanted to point out, was Oswald part of this conspiracy? I don't know. There were so many rabbit holes you can go down, right? My point was, I just wanted to see if he could have made those shots. And I'm going to give it to you in a nutshell, right? Okay.
The Anthony Burnside inside update.
Exactly. Inside update. Okay. If you ever been in Dealey Plaza, right? The motorcade was changed 2 days before Kennedy arrived. He could have just kept going on Main Street and got to where he was going, but for some reason, he had to turn on Houston, which means you're going north. Then he turns on Elm Street, and they have to slow down to turn on Elm Street, right? And I'm like, why would you do that? And then I thought, wait a minute, hold on. Then why, and Groden said the same thing. This is before I met him. Why didn't Oswald just shoot Kennedy coming down Houston? He had lots of shots. Even if he slowed down, he can still shoot. But he didn't do that, right? That would have been the easier shot to make. No one ever answers that question. And I know why. Because you don't need multiple shooters when you're coming down north on that, right? And I call my analysis a Nightmare on Elm Street. So,
Touché.
Thank you very much. So he turns left and he goes down the road. Well, interesting. If he really wanted to shoot him, why wouldn't he just shoot him coming down on Houston? He waits till he makes that awkward turn. Right? Why? Because that puts you in triangulation fire. Right?
I mean, the divots they're photographs of the divots.
Exactly.
Right?
And I saw that. Yeah. So I said, okay. And, there's a live cam that I gave the address to where you can look out that window all day if you want to. So the first shot rang out right before he got out of the trees. That's interesting. Why would Oswald shoot and he can't see it? That's interesting. Okay. So here's where I would have put people. Kennedy was killed with a flat low trajectory bullet, right? Oswald, excuse me. They found 3 Full Metal Jacket shells in that nest, right? Full Metal Jacket shells, 6.5 millimeter Full Metal Jackets. But yet, the coroner said he found about 40 bullet fragments in Kennedy's brain. FMJs don't disintegrate. They don't, they go right through you. So you have a chance of living, right? But that hole that they found in his head was 6 millimeter. Now, I don't like math, but I think 6 millimeter is different from 6.5 millimeter. Just a shot in the dark. Just throwing that in the dark. 40 fragments in his head from a Full Metal Jacket bullet. Those are designed to go right through. I don't know how that's possible. That's weird. Then the brain disappears because Oswald did it.
The brain showed up in that little casket they buried later. That's also in Groden's book.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
Now, as far as the shooting, that motorcade was 15 minutes late. Most people don't realize that. So Oswald should have been in that window at 12:15. Well, there were 2 people that said they saw a black man and a white man on the 6th floor, but at opposite ends. Okay. All right. So they're telling me the kill shot came in at 12:30. 92 seconds later, a cop rushes in with a book depository worker. They see Oswald, 2nd floor, book depository, lunchroom, having a Coke. Okay. That's at 12:32. That's about 92 seconds later. Kill shot comes in at 12:30. About 12:32, he's sitting there having a Coke, right? Coke and a smile, right? Okay. At 12:26, he was seen in that same lunchroom by these two women who I guess they were going up the stairs. Okay. So the Warren Commission says, well, we have to, he did all that in 4 minutes. He got up there without a spotter, not knowing the windage, right? Shoots a bullet before he comes out of the trees because he has X-ray vision. This is what they said. So the shots rang out, 3 shots, boom, boom, boom. Second shot and third shot were on top of each other, almost like it was an automatic weapon, because it took 2.5 seconds, maybe 3.5 seconds to recycle that weapon with the bolt and got to re-aim. Boom, boom. How do you get those 2 shots in tandem like that when you have to do a bolt action? To me, sounds like a second shooter. The bullets that exploded in his head definitely was not from a Mannlicher Carcano, because that was we found full metal, not we, but full metal jackets were found next to it. So that's the thing. And frangible bullets in 1963 cannot be bought by the public. It was only available to the military and law enforcement at that time. Just saying. That's all I'm saying.
But we're free to talk about this now because that's a long time ago.
Yeah, but I as I told Groden, and I told I think I told Larry too. I said, look, as an investigator, one of the first things you learn is something doesn't make sense is probably a lie. So they're holding the papers, right?
Still haven't all been released.
Why is that if Oswald was the shooter? See, that makes no sense. If it was just Oswald, then release it. They won't, because they know it wasn't just Oswald. Yeah. That should let you know right there.
Yep.
So that's my thing on that.
All right, my friend, I'm going to change it up on you.
Sure.
So every now and then, I see a picture of you with Brad Pitt, or I see a picture of you with a beautiful starlet on some red carpet.
Am I working that day? Probably working.
Probably working.
At the party with Brad, we were at the SAG Awards, so we were attending as attendees, and that was that was a good night, because he was asked back when he was with his wife, and I was with some friends, and a lot of my friends are actors, and so we're all just hanging out that night. But yeah, I think there's some red carpet stuff. But I'm listening, guys.
Most interesting person you've met during that stuff?
Interesting. Man, there's a lot that I just like talking to.
You don't need to tell me no booty calls.
That's what's the name of the show again?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's for the After Dark version. After Dark. Man, I would say, if I had to pick, Eva LaRue.
Why?
Because her sister, I met Eva at a party. She used to be on All My Children. And actually, one of my good friends was also on that show. We still talk to this day. She played Simone. Terry Ivins. She's great. Eva LaRue, because Eva has a sister that's a teacher. And I just sat, her and her sister, Eva and her sister and I, we just talked for hours just about teachers and how wonderful they are, because I love teachers and I support teachers. And I wrote a book. In a book that I wrote a chapter in. I talk a lot about my teacher, who was a big influence on me. So I was talking with Eva and her sister about that, and her sister's so adorable. And so they're probably one of the most interesting, because I like talking about intellectual things all the time. So I think that was probably one of the most interesting people and of course Neil deGrasse Tyson, who I love. I mean,
you mentioned one time, and you can tell me.
He's an astrophysicist.
I know him. He's interesting.
Yeah,
was it Apollonia calls you on your birthday or something?
Oh, that's like my best friend.
Yeah, dude, what a great story.
Best friend, man. She's like my big sister.
One of my childhood friends was Prince's hairstylist on the road.
Really, what was her name?
The last name was Hartung, but I can't remember her first name. It was his sister. My friend was Dave, but yeah, I love. One of the reasons I love when we talk about brushing up against celebrities or people of note is that everybody's life matters, and we're
Right.
actually all in the big story, and we all view this. Well, these people are all up here in the Meta, and I'm down here. And we're not. We bump up against these people all of the time. I've worked for senators and congressmen,
Of
and
course,
presidents
of
and
course.
prime ministers, and it. They're all just people. We're
All just people, yeah.
just people.
Once you get past the wow factor, you just realize, man,
And
there
we're in
are
the
just
same
people.
story. I
We're in
mean,
the same story,
we all
yeah.
get to live our lives, and we can have an impact, or we can choose not to. We just choose to watch the impact a little bit.
Sure.
It doesn't matter. It's I didn't mean to hang you out.
Oh no, that's okay.
Name
No. No,
dropping. That's
that's
it's good for the click throughs, I guess. But
yeah, no. She's good people.
we're getting about
man.
done with this thing. If one wants to do what you do, where do you start?
I would say go to a reputable training academy and get all the training you can. And after you graduate, practice, read books, go to seminars, go to security events. We have them all over the world. And you want to network, because in this business, your network is your net worth.
Well, it's all personal.
It's all personal. Yeah, it's who you know. And I mean, that's it. And practice and keep your mouth shut. Don't talk to the media.
Don't talk ever.
Yeah, don't talk ever. Whatever you see, we see. I consider myself, and I talked about this, it was the name of the chapter, the guardian of the gods. Because that's who we are. I mean, we stand at the shoulder of history. And sometimes you find yourself being part of history and not even realize you didn't even think about it. But yeah, we stand at the shoulders of history. That's usually at the end of the day after you did all your advance work. I just want people to know, people just think you stand there.
Frosty beverage.
Have a frosty beverage. We call it the wheels up party. We call it wheels up. Yeah, once it's wheels up, because you're gonna, man. There's times where we've made the news where we didn't want to make the news, and I talked about that on my social media once. Someone wrote about us over in Europe, claiming that we did certain things that we didn't even do. People like to make up stuff, and they like to. Anytime some bodyguard, whenever you hear me use the term bodyguard, it's not a compliment. I use it sometimes loosely because to describe what we do, because most people don't understand CPO or EP operator. They're like, what's that? But if you say bodyguard, big guys with the tattoos and the muscles, unfortunately. But we're a different breed. Someone like that would be outclassed by a real threat. I mean, think about it. Gosh, this sounds bad.
Spot him 5 miles away. So.
Right. Who was RFK Sr.'s bodyguard?
Don't know.
Rosie Greer and an FBI guy, former FBI guy.
Is that true? Rosie Greer was?
Rosie Greer. Check it up. The NFL player.
I'll be damned.
Who has no training in executive protection, mind you, but he's a big, tall black man, and I guess for some people that's psychologically threatening enough. Well, not to Sirhan, or whoever was in the room that day, because RFK Sr. was walking down a hallway that's already been advanced. He decides, I think I'm going to take a shortcut through the kitchen. Right? Wasn't supposed to. Security allowed him to. Security should have said, no, sir, we're going to continue this path because that's what's been cleared. That's how you have to talk to, And he didn't, and then some bad things happened.
The rest is history.
The rest is history. So it's funny, I made a post about RFK Jr., and I don't normally endorse any politicians. Just like my friend in the Secret Service says, you elect them, we protect them. And I protected politicians. I don't care if you're gay, straight, trans, non-trans, it doesn't matter. You hire me, you get the same protection anyone else gets. We're like surgeons. When you come underneath the surgeon's knife, he doesn't ask you your politics, or she doesn't ask you your politics. They just say, okay, here's a problem, let's correct it. That's what we do. We're devoid of, we don't get, a good operator does not get involved in that kind of mush with the politics and all of that. We don't. We're just here to serve you. We're going to do a great job. RFK Jr. had this big brouhaha about Biden won't give me security. Okay. Well, that's not necessarily how it works.
Well, that's not how the regulations of Secret Service work.
Right. You have to be the nominee of the party, of the projected nominee, before you can get Secret Service protection. A law that went into effect after the murder of his father.
Yep.
Which I thought was kind of weird and ironic in a way. But he should know that. And that's kind of misleading. Nothing against him, but you would think. I mean, he
does have a name. I mean, they make exceptions for exceptional.
That's true.
For exceptional risks.
That's true. But he didn't meet the Secret Service. The Secret Service, there's a federal rule Congress has. And then there's a rule the Secret Service has. Like Obama got his a few weeks earlier. Or maybe a month or two early because of all the threats. All the threats, right. But he was the nominee. They knew Obama was going to be the nominee. I don't want anything to happen to RFK Jr. I don't want anything to happen to anybody. No. But the team he has now, I won't say who they are, but they're really good guys, and I know some of them. They're really good guys. He has a really good team. Now, if he gets the nomination, then of course he should have Secret Service protection. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But to say Biden doesn't have the power. Biden,
Yeah. It's procedural.
It's procedural, right. And most people don't know that. They think, oh, Biden's a jerk. No, it can't, I don't know what, he just can't. It's up to the Secret Service, and it's up to, maybe Biden can get it for a member of his family, because Trump did that. I think everybody but his dog had the Secret Service protection. But the president, as far as my understanding, not unilaterally could say, okay, he can't do it. It has to be up to the Secret Service, and there's quotas and protocols that have to be met. Yep.
Anthony Burnside, thank you so very much for coming.
Oh, Will, thank you for having me.
It's always great to see you. It's good to see you in Kansas City. You're hobnobbing with all the celebs and the
it's good to be back.
You occasionally pop into Kansas City. It's nice to see you, sir.
Yeah, well, my apartment's here, so I got to go by there and check things out.
I was trying to think today. I first met you at Fred Piat's, may it rest in
the
peace.
Plaza,
What a great place.
That was my spot.
That's like 20-some years ago, my friend.
Has that been that long?
It may be longer.
Because then you used to come to my radio show?
Yeah.
And you know what I like? This is kind of like...
Again, what was the name of the radio show?
Wave Station X.
There you
go. The Anthony the Evil Genius, the high priest of the Church of the Painful Truth. Because this kind of, the way that I've always explained the show was that, we're just two friends sitting here hanging out, the mics are eavesdropping. And that's kind of like what the cameras and the mics are doing now, just eavesdropping on a really good conversation. And that's how it should be.